Hi, everyone. Hello again. Hello. Welcome back to the Digital Community Voices Playwriting Workshop presented by the Old Globe's Arts Engagement Department in San Diego, California. My name is Katie Haroff, and I'm the program creator, a playwright, and an all-around theater nerd here to give you the goods on playwriting every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock. Thank you all for joining me again. And would you believe it? We are on our 7th workshop. And today's meeting is going to be all about encouraging participants to find the right for them outcome in order to come to a conclusion for their 10-minute plays. After developing your first 3 pages, exploring the wants and conflicts of your main characters, digging deeper with or without monologues, you should now have all of the resources to get to the finale of your 10-minute play by our 9th workshop next Tuesday. If you are tuning in for the first time, that's totally okay. Welcome. Hello. Nice to see you here. But at this point, in our workshop, you might want to check out some of our previous lessons on our event page or on our YouTube page so you can better understand all of the things that come before the end in a play. But as always, we'll be sharing some scripts and talking about the big picture of play development today. And everyone here is welcome to follow along. And I think it's pretty fun, if I do say so myself. And speaking of fun, as always, I have the mega talented, wonderful, incredible folk with me today, Gil Sotu and Mickey Vale, who are my co-teaching artists, and they're here to have those deep discussions about ongoing development of plays. And if you've tuned in, you know that we like to kick things off with a check-in. And my check-in question for everyone today is, what was one of your favorite endings in theater or film? And give us a little info as to why. And then I just completely blew the lid off of this check-in question earlier today. And I said, or an ending in your life. Our lives have a lot of natural endings in them. So what is an ending in your personal life that you always remember that was impactful to you? That sounds like the lead into some depressing stuff, but endings can be very uplifting as well. So today we'll start with Mickey. Mickey, any answer to that check-in is appropriate, a play, a movie, or a personal ending. Nice to see your face.
Nice.
What have you got for us today?
Yeah, I got depressing stuff for you.
All right, Katie.
I'm always good for some depressing stuff. So I'm going to go with the life one. I had a very impactful ending, which was the end of a 9-year relationship, which was very difficult. And it took a lot of looking inside and introspection and rebuilding my life from the ground up, basically. But I was able to transform a lot of what I went through into different art forms. So I wrote a play inspired by that ending. I wrote a whole album inspired by that ending, and it came out in beautiful ways. And those things led me to a whole lot of other different things. So even though it was a terrible time that I went through, it had some silver linings.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm grateful that even though, yes, it was a sad thing to share, and endings do kind of come up with these feelings of loss, and that makes total sense. But it still is something that produced something very positive in your life, and you were able to create art out of it, which is why we take the time to reflect in this way. It does seem like sometimes the beginning of these workshops are like, it's the bummer time. But I encourage you all not to necessarily think of endings from that perspective, even though some of those beautiful, emotionally driven endings in our life are going to make some of the most incredible art. And Mickey is a testimony to that. Absolutely. Hey, Gil, how about you? Do you have an ending you want to share? And it's okay if it's sad. It's okay if it's sad.
Thank you for that permission. Yeah, I was thinking about some movies that I really loved, and that's kind of the easy answer. But life's not about being easy, so I'm going to talk about the difficult one, which is also a breakup. And it was kind of like what you would see thematically in a movie where the guy runs through the airport to get the girl, but this is the opposite. This is where the girl goes to the airport to break up with the guy. And it was during the time when we could still go to the gate. So I came there expecting this amazing weekend with this girl that I was dating long distance, and I hadn't seen her in like a year. And after that weekend, we broke up, and she took me to the airport, walked me to the gate, and it was confusing because we were broken up, but then we gave each other a passionate kiss, and I got on the plane. And reflecting back on that, I haven't thought of that story in years. Remember my wife, years. I haven't thought of that in years. The thing about a lot of my stories, it has bittersweet endings like that, where the character doesn't always get what they want, but they definitely get what they need. So
I think that's beautiful. And just to reflect on this moment of your life and how it even maybe has impacted your writing ongoingly, whether you realized it or not, this moment that is memorable, that is bittersweet, that word is beautiful. And I think that endings that capture those two qualities together tend to feel very satisfying to a lot of people. That's why there's so many movies with that bittersweet ending. That's why that word exists. People enjoy that feeling of letting go, but remembering the beauty too. And that feeling can be described as nothing but bittersweet.
right.
Thank you both for sharing. We also have some actors here with us today. One that's back for his third round. He is a third-time veteran of our Community Voices digital workshop. He's just that good, and that's Mr. Jake Milgaard. Jake, thank you for being here again today. And we also have a newcomer, the wonderful teaching artist, Kimberly King. She's taught Community Voices with me in the past, and she's also a fabulous local actress. We're grateful to have both of their talents. And I'm going to take a moment to turn this check-in question to both of you, but I'm going to make it actor related. I'm going to spare you the ability to get super deep with us today. I'm just kidding. If you want to go the personal ending route in this check-in, feel free. But I am going to turn this question a little bit and ask you what was maybe your most favorite ending of a play that you performed in. It's a very different way to kind of think about plays when you have performed in them. So I like to let actors reflect on some of the writing works that they've participated in and how they've impacted them. So Kimberly, let's start with you. Let's see your lovely face and let us know about a piece that you were a part of that really impacted you in its ending.
Yeah, in 2016, I was in a production of Our Lady of Kibeho over at the Moxie here in San Diego, wonderful small theater. And it was about some young girls who had, in Rwanda, who had foreseen the Rwandan genocide. They had visions of the Virgin Mary, and there was all this controversy over whether they were faking it or whether they really saw the vision. And it was a wonderful theatrical experience. And the best part about it, it was a depressing play, because of course what succeeded was the actual genocide. But everybody left that theater thinking about what could they have done or what should they have done during that whole time. It was one of those retrospective historical plays with a lot of liberties on what individuals were thinking. And I left there thinking, gosh, what could I have done differently? It kind of ended with the genocide ready to happen. So it was a thought-provoking piece, and I love those pieces where everybody walks out of the theater thinking, what can I do? I need to do some action.
I think that's great. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I agree. I'm really drawn to plays that tell real stories, plays that reflect on a moment in time through a realistic lens, but allows the audience to kind of see a perspective that they may never be able to focus on without the support of this playwright to dive into that. And I agree. I love to be left with that feeling of deep thought and reflection of a moment of humanity. And good plays can really inspire you to do that. Some of my favorite theater moments end with me and my friends walking to our cars and not being able to leave because we want to keep talking about what we saw and experienced together. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Jake, why don't you come on up and let us know about a play with an ending that really stuck with you in your very, long acting career.
Yeah, there was one where I was thinking about this question that stuck out with me, and it was something early on in my career. It was in college. There was this production of a play that is well known, and I think its point of view is, and the point of view of the playwright are also very well known. It's Oleana by David Mamet. And I think because it was so long ago, we won't get in trouble about talking about it, even though Mamet would, I'm sure, not approve. But what they did is that they took this play that has, two people in it, and they cast it multiple times and kind of gave the play different perspectives on what is usually just two people's perspective, and they froze and switched out, and we were able to see it from a lot of different ways. And what it did for me that I really enjoyed, and what I really enjoy about endings in plays in general, is it really gave the audience a chance to look at it from multiple ways and really got the audience talking. And that's what I love in an ending in a play, is just, it's not wrapped up in a tidy, nice little bow. It's something that sparks conversation. And that's my favorite thing to do, is to go see a show and then afterwards have a drink and argue or friendly discuss and the outcome of a play and what we thought it meant. And so that was one that kind of jumped out at me.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you so much. And I really enjoy having this conversation, and I especially enjoy having this conversation live, because I think it's important to hear what different people want from the ending of their entertainment. This is not a solo act, this play development, and we'll continue to talk about that today. But your play is meant to be shared and performed in front of others. So one of the most valuable things I can encourage you to think about as you continue to develop your piece and as you gear up into the ending is to think about how you'd like your audience to leave your play. What kind of feeling do you want them to leave there with? Do you want them to all talk about it? Do you want there to be a twist or a surprise? Or do you want them to, feel bittersweet with what you shared with them? Do you want them to feel confused? It's up to you as the playwright to share whatever feeling you want to give to your audience. What a gift to be able to give an entire audience of people a feeling inspired by your words. So since today is our 7th workshop, we've got some stuff to cover, a new handout to get you ready to find your play's end. And I'm going to share 2 very different play beginnings, one that is in just the very, very beginning of its development, and one that's a bit further along, that were submitted to get feedback. We're going to read these and discuss them live and encourage the participants that submitted their work to move forward in their pieces, and to encourage those who haven't moved forward in their work in any way to submit their work, to get going in their work, and to also kind of see where other people are at in their pieces. So we're going to discuss these live, encourage the participants to move forward. And this is a good moment to kind of just talk about what to expect from this week and next week. So as more and more people are submitting their work, lots of people are submitting their work. Thank you so much. I am going to do my best to get back to you as much feedback as possible this week, including I'm going to start divvying up the responsibility of reading the scripts and giving them to my gorgeous, wonderful co-teaching artists to give you some feedback this week. We're also going to start talking about feedback today in these 2 scripts that we're going to discuss, and much more so in next week. We're going to dig into understanding your work and trying to connect with you based on the words that you decided to share with us. The one thing I want to start off this week of feedback is by letting you all know that feedback is subjective. It's subjective. Every different person you talk to about your piece is going to have a different idea or perspective about the way they think your play should end up. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to practice just letting feedback kind of wash over you. Some of it is going to be so helpful. Some of it is going to pinpoint some of your ideas in ways that you didn't think about quite yet. And it's going to help you get to the place you need to get with your play. And some of it is going to be so off the mark, you're going to not really understand what that person is talking about. Just let it wash over you. Maybe even us, maybe even including us. We might read your pieces today and get something from it that you just didn't get. So the only thing that matters is that you're okay with the way that your pieces are being interpreted. And some of that is, yes, us reading it and maybe we got that interpretation wrong, but sometimes it's just coming from the script. We can only do what we can with what's written. So it's up to you to figure out how to fine tune your voice inspired by the feedback you get. But all of it's subjective and you don't have to take any of it. Here I am telling you, you don't have to take feedback, but it's always wonderful to gain. And a lot of you are hungry for it. Many of you have messaged me about the desire for feedback. And I have to tell you, that is a really great position to be in, ready to receive it. And it's coming for you live and emailed. And just so you know, I will always ask you again, even if you said in your email, you can share my piece. I will send a confirmation letting you know that we'll share your piece. And if you say no, we will not use it. So that was my little rant on feedback. It felt very important to warm you all up into this new process. So we're going to skip our little writing warm up for today. And I'm going to instead turn our check-in question over for you all at home to ponder. What has been your absolute favorite ending of a film, of a play, or any media you've digested, podcast, YouTube videos? Or was there an ending in your life that was very impactful to you? Go ahead. If you feel like sharing, let us know in the comments and reflect as to why that's a piece or that's a moment that inspired you. Perhaps you'll inspire someone else here, or you'll inspire the ending of your own play just from your own reflection. We are going to do a little physical warm-up today. So I've learned that this is something I cannot live without in this workshop. People really appreciate it, and I appreciate you, so I will do this again. We are going to, everybody's going to come on up and join me in the warm-up, so I'm not alone doing these warm-ups anymore. Thank goodness. So we are going to do a little humming, and we're going to do a nice little rub of our arms and our shoulders and our neck so that we can kind of reset and come into this space and get ready for some creativity today, or even just, reset where we are today so that we can be in this space together. So first we're going to start with our long resetting breath. So find a nice place in posture with your feet on the ground and your shoulders rolled back. And go ahead and take that long, deep breath in, hold at the top and exhale. Let's go ahead and do that. Inhale. Long hold and exhale. Good. Let's do that one more time. Let's see if you could release a little tension while you do it. Long inhale in, hold at the top, and a nice long exhale out. Good. So for the rest of this, I'm going to guide you through little parts that I want you to just give a little squeeze, a little love. While we're doing that, I encourage you all to hum and on a sound. And this feeling simultaneously to the rubbing, it's just really lovely. And it just kind of vibrates your face and your sinuses, and it's a little face massage for your face. So that'll sound like this. And we're going to start with our right hand. So go ahead and start just giving your right hand a little rub and deep inhale in and Good. Continue doing that. Deep inhale in and exhale on a and we're going to move to the left hand. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I could be online encouraging you to give yourself a little love all day, but we got stuff to do. So keep on with the mms, and let's go ahead and go down to our right wrist and forearm. But you can give yourself a longer massage at home if you'd like to. I encourage you. If this is my doorway of opening this up for you for this workshop, I encourage it. You can watch today's workshop and go ahead and focus on giving yourself a nice little massage. Let's go to our left wrist and remember those. Good. And now we can, at the same time, kind of move up our shoulders, giving a squeeze. And I don't know about you, but this feels not bad in these current moments to just give a little self-love. And I'm coming up to the shoulders, so if you want to change your decross and kind of come to the shoulders and the neck. And let's just do, even if you didn't do any of them, let's just do one final together. Inhale and and that's it. Unless you want to keep on, please continue keeping on. I hope that for those of you that went along, I hope that felt nice. I hope that your brains are a little reset and you're ready to dig into the end. So we're going to go ahead and open up our handout for today. I believe it is available in the comments. We also have an album of handouts that keep getting uploaded. And just to help you out, we're going to read through these handouts. But if anybody wants me to digitally send them one of these handouts, you are welcome to reach out to me at that email address that I always provide, kharoff@theoldglobe.org. This is a little early. We'll have the card later today. But yeah, if you have any issue finding the handout, just shoot me an email and I'll make sure to get that to you. But we're also going to read it to you today. So Mickey, if you could come up and if you wouldn't mind lending your voice to reading the end handout, or before you get to the end handout is what it's called. Hi, Mickey, whenever you're ready.
The prompt is to fill out this questionnaire before finding an ending to your 10-minute play. Number 1, draw a graph envisioning the amount of change your character goes through in your plot. Number 2, looking at the graph of transformation for your main character, how do you intend to show your character's changes through your play if there are any? If there are no changes, how will you explore their lack of transformation? And number 3, what is it you hope to say, your play's underlining message, through the transformation or non-transformation of your main character?
Cool. Thank you, Mickey. Hey, Mickey, before you go away, why do you think you're gone. Why do you think it's important to outline a character's transformation before committing it to paper?
It's good to have a blueprint so that you know exactly what you want your character to do and you're not going all over the place with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And going all over the place definitely happens even with your blueprint. You can take copious notes, but sometimes when you I call it entering the room of the play, and which is more just sitting at your laptop or whatever your computer is to work on it. Sometimes the characters could definitely take you in different directions. Mm-hmm. So I definitely find that if I have a base outline, if I know what I'm going into the room with, hoping to accomplish, even if the characters might take me in different directions, I can still focus on my overall goal for it. Yeah. Hey, Gil, you are someone that I know really likes to map out your ideas before writing them. How much time would you say that you specifically give to reflecting on your ending before you write it?
I can't really qualify how much time, because I don't instead of start watch stop watch on about the ending. But no, sorry, that wasn't meant to be snarky. I was just literally answering the question. But I really do feel it's important. I think about the story as a whole, especially the ending, because that's what we're leaving them on. But once I have a rough idea and I'm somewhat satisfied with the ending, the important thing is just to start writing. And sometimes the characters themselves will take you on a different journey and be okay and be flexible that, okay, the characters are taking me down here and this feels better to me, but at least you have some sort of direction of where you're going. And I think that that's always helpful, to feel confident in just writing and you're leading your characters, but just be open to where they take you as well.
I completely agree with that. And, everybody does this differently. And some people come into developing a play knowing an ending. Like I've worked with a lot of playwrights that are like, I want to establish this ending. So everything needs to build into it. And that to me always feels like maybe a more successful way to approach plays than the way I approach them, which I wouldn't recommend this to anyone at home, but it's important to share the process of playwriting. And I specifically end up writing several endings. Sometimes, depending on the size of my problem in the play, and by problem, I mean my ability to visualize my work, I'll write dozens of endings to a piece before I end up on one that I'm satisfied with. That doesn't always happen. And I will absolutely say that when I take considerable time to map out my personal wants for this play and what I want to say with it, even though sometimes what you want to say could be said in several different ways, the act of exploring the different type of ending, it's much more satisfying when I have done the brainstorming work, when I have really thought about what I want out of the outcome of this work.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, please.
I think as writers, it's our job and it's very important to try to grab and understand all the different tools from other writers, from your teachers, from your mentors. And really the fun part about it is trying them all out and discovering what tools work best for you. And it's going to be highly individualized. It's going to work best for your personality type, your work ethic and workflow. And once you discover that, then you become stronger of a writer and you have more of your own voice. It's the same thing as when you start to listen to other writers and emulate other writers. When you first start out, you're going to sound like the writers that you like, but then eventually you're going to find your own voice. And that's the kind of the sweet spot. Thank
you, Gil.
Yeah.
That's why they're here. They're so smart. They think of more than I could ever think of. You're in good hands. And this handout, it seems pretty simple. You make a graph of what your change looks like. You answer some questions, but it is specifically designed to help you transition from the first 3 to 4 pages of your script into the ending, because that's where we are already. 10 minutes is a short play. And if you have an idea of how you'd like your main characters to transform, now's the time to show it. Through your dialogue and through your action. And it's important to remember the real timing of 10 minutes. If you really want to show as much as possible, you only have a certain amount of time. What can actually happen in 10 minutes? Not a life story, not the beginning to the end life story, not told in a way that's significant. It's more like a slice of life. So we've talked about the location changes being minimal, the focus of a transformation being mostly around 1 or 2 characters maximum. And in other words, what we've done is we tried to underline the need to keep this specific play pretty simple. And so I want to encourage you all at home, if you've gotten to a certain place with your play now and you realize, oh, I have to get to the ending already. I'm not there yet. What you found yourself in the middle of is in the process of writing a fuller length play, which how exciting is that you have that much drama material or theatrical material within you. You found it. You found the story that you can tell for a full length play. Perhaps for this specific workshop, just focus on a section or a slice of that play. Or if you want to explore a different piece that's a little bit shorter, that's a little more geared towards a slice of life kind of presentation instead of something that you need to dig deep in, feel free to start again. There's a reason why we don't spend a long time digging into the actual process of writing. We do the majority of our work around brainstorming, because once you're set to write that 10-minute play, it's pretty quick to write. 10 minutes, about 10 pages. So I've had a lot of participants come through the Community Voices workshop with lots of different plays, because they'll start with one, realize that that requires more digging in than 10 minutes can possibly provide, and that they want to use this opportunity to explore this specific style of play, which is its own medium. There are fabulous 10-minute plays out there, 10-minute play festivals, open calls for 10-minute plays. So this specific genre of play is in it of its own right wonderful to learn, a wonderful skill to learn for any playwright. So feel free to explore different versions of this. And as my incredibly intelligent co-teacher said in a previous workshop, write for the trash can, just write. Write and get it out, and we can shape it with you together. So this week I've gotten permission to share, we're going to share two very different at-home participant scripts. We're going to kind of take some time, the rest of the class, to read it out loud and then have a discussion about them to support that person at home heading into their ending. So we'll read the script and then we're going to reflect using the handout that we have for today and beyond regarding specifically the characters' transformations. We'll also share with you what we're sincerely curious about your play. And we're going to be attracted to certain qualities of your pieces, and since they're all in various stages, we're going to be full of questions regarding what's next for your play. And hearing these questions are intended to inspire you. Maybe hearing what we're specifically interested in will encourage you to explore a path you've never thought of before. But I want to say this one more time because it's really important in playwriting. That's subjective. What we're interested or connected to in your piece is subjective. We may have an idea that is nowhere near what you thought you were going to focus on, and that's okay. Our point today is that playmaking is not a solitary act. We're going to talk a bit about this next week too, as we continue to dig into feedback. Once you start developing your plays and sending them out into the world, they begin to stretch beyond your creative imagination, and it becomes a collaboration between you, the play's director, the designers, the actors, and the audience. And it's so important to keep them in mind during your development, and especially if that development is being interpreted differently than you expected. So if you're getting the feedback from us today that it's somewhere else than where you thought it was, it's up to you to ask yourself the question if that's okay. And if it's not okay that we're interpreting that, it's up to you to help to bring your clarity into vision, and hopefully we can support you throughout that. So enough of that. I'm very loving with feedback because it scares everybody, including me. But we're going to start with a piece that's only one page. We'll show you how persuasive just the introduction of characters could be, and what we might think the conflict will be on this piece and how it could possibly resolve. I got this piece a little while ago, and I just want to support this playwright in their development. So we're going to share it today. So this is just the first page of the piece, but it starts so strong, and I want to take the time to get them to the next space. It's called Powerless, and I'm going to share the stage directions of our readings today, but we'll be featuring those two fabulous actors who will come up to the screen now. Are you both ready?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. So this is titled Powerless. Oh, and just real quick, I'm not going to be sharing anybody's names. I just wanted to reiterate that for those at home that are a little nervous that I might share their names. I'm not going to. So this play is titled Powerless. It's by a fabulous viewer at home. The characters are Dorothy, a 24 years old, considers herself tough, often finds herself in bad situations without seeing how she got there. And then we have Caesar, who's Dorothy's boyfriend, a low-level drug dealer who is kind to Dorothy. And then we have Leo, who's Caesar's supplier. He's a rough manner, quick temper. And then we have David, who's English, early 40s, cold and calm at all times, a high-level drug dealer who wants to use Dolores to help him maintain his drug empire. And just so you know, you went from Dorothy to Dolores, so I think we're going to stick with Dolores. Dorothy is Dolores. Okay. So the setting is Dolores and Caesar's bedroom at 11 p.m. At Rise, we have Caesar, who stands behind Dolores. They stare into the audience as though staring into a mirror, both focused on Dolores's belly.
I'm going to be a daddy.
Is that what you're going to be?
What are you trying to say?
I mean, you're just going to be my baby daddy?
You want me to propose?
You're so romantic, cabron. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm going to be a great dad. I'm going to take care of all of us.
I can't be around this shit anymore, Cesar.
What do you want me to do? Work at the corner store? There's no decent money here except how I make it.
And that's it. Sorry for the pause. I didn't even realize it was over, but it's over. We did a little run. So this piece is very short, but it is such a great start. And this playwright specifically did some really key, really strong things at the very beginning of her piece that I wanted to chat about it to continue its process and hopefully, even though it's only on page 1, get it to its ending. So Mickey and Gil are going to help me to kind of dig into this piece a little bit in our discussion. And this discussion today is a little bit more in depth than we might be able to get in future feedback sessions, but you know, we're just sort of easing our way into it. So Gil and Mickey, my first question for you is I like to start with this question because we always start with the positive. What kept you connected or interested or hooked into the piece? Let's start with Mickey.
There's so much. I love that, and so quickly we learn so much about what's going on, so much about the story, and it leaves you wanting to know what's going to happen. Whose story are we going to learn the most about from here? Is it going to be Dolores or is it going to be Caesar? What decision is going to be made coming up? So I love it. It's so much in such a short amount of time.
I agree. How about you, Gil? Was there anything that specifically hooked you in?
Just that the stakes are really high already. You know, there's the pregnancy, there's the fact that he's a drug dealer, the fact that they're not married. Not that that's a negative, but just that it's so important to her, you know. So already setting up out the gate, you have a lot of high stakes for what's going on. And I find that a lot of first-time writers or early writers, their stakes aren't really that high when they first start out. And so I'm always pushing them to raise the stakes. So it's good that he or she, whoever wrote this, was able to do that.
I agree. I think, you know, this piece, talk about oh my gosh, for a page 1, we've got a character list of drug dealers and one woman and she's pregnant. So we know who she's involved in is problematic. And we know that right out the very, very beginning of this, she's in a difficult situation with someone who is in a compromising work environment and all of those elements, and you know the desire to keep a baby safe and okay really captures your audience. You did a really great job of kind of rocketing this 10-minute play out from the start, and you don't really dig in with monologues. It's not a lot of reflection about, you know, how they got to this place, and it's not needed. It feels like we're just on the wall watching this situation unfold right before us, and we are in the palm of your hands. So what are you both curious about? We'll start with Gil this time. What do you want to know about? Just, I mean, it's just page one. So page one person, like this conversation is a little risky because we're really just kind of coming up with our own ideas inspired by this first page, but it's such a good page one, we wanted to talk about it. So take this with a grain of salt. But Gil, what are you specifically curious about?
I'm really curious as to how far Dolores would go to protect her boyfriend and her baby, from this life. That's the most interesting question to me, because you can go in so many different ways.
That's deep. That's a great question. What about you, Mickey? What do you specifically want to know about?
I want to know what Dolores is going to do. What is she going to stay in this lifestyle with all these people around her and choose to bring their child into that lifestyle? Or is she going to bounce and, go about life on her own? Or, it could go a bunch of different ways. Or is she for sure going to have this baby? I'm curious. I got questions.
We got questions. You got us. We are in the palm of your hands. Congratulations. So like I mentioned, this piece is about 9 pages away from finding its ending. But we're just going to chat a little bit to see if we can come up with some answers regarding today's handouts and a potential character transformation. So, Gil and Mickey, who do you think is the main character? Just to guess, like this piece isn't that developed yet, but who would you guess?
I would say it's Dolores. A couple clues is that she's first on the list of the characters. So that gives you an idea. And it seems like she's the one that's not satisfied with her situation. So it could eventually be Cesar, but it looks like she's going to be the one that has to change and be active in order to change something in this piece.
And I think that's an important point to make ongoingly, especially when I start to work with new writers. Sometimes people will decide that your main character is a specific person. I think I've mentioned this in previous workshops, but if you have the desire for the focus to be on one main character, what's likely going to happen is that the audience is going to be the most connected to a main character that goes through the most transformation, has the most wants, maybe starts out the piece feeling the most dissatisfied with the current circumstances. So if you have a play that kind of starts with that strength, just know that an audience is going to kind of glom to that character. And even if it's not clear from your play, they will decide for you that that's your main character. Obviously, there's a lot of main characters out there that go through no transformations, but just like we say on our handout, it's important to make sure that you make a point as why. That if your main character goes through no transformation, there is a clear reason as to why not. Because who they are is too important, because everyone around them is changing. Whatever the reason there needs to be at least some kind of reason as to why your main character doesn't go through a transformation after setting out to achieve their goals despite their despite the obstacles. So if you feel different about that, shoot me an email. Let me know about your character that doesn't change, and we'll talk about them and what you're doing and exploring with that. So Mickey, this is once again a big guessing question of a piece that's not super developed. So what kind of transformation could you see Gloria or Dolores? Gloria, I'm thinking of 10,000 cigarettes. What kind of transformation could you see Dolores or Dorothy go through in this play?
Wow, it could go so many ways. Maybe she could, if she's not able to change the person, which tends to be difficult to change another person. So if she's not able to change Cesar, maybe she could change herself or change their situation. Like maybe she comes up she starts her own business that's a big moneymaker, and she provides for the family, for either the family, and he hops on and goes on this positive route with her, or just for herself. And she becomes a queen pin in her own business.
There's so many ways that, you know, she could become the one that takes over for this. And this is just from page one. And we can talk about things like this all day. Let's jump into our next piece for today because it's a little bit further along in its development. And we're going to read through it with our actors, have another discussion. So let me bring my actors back. I'll say goodbye to my teaching artists. There they are, ready to go. You two ready? All right, let's go. So this piece is called What Lurks in the Basement, and that's a working title. The characters are, and forgive me if I say any of these names wrong, I probably will, but the first one is Anja, a mid-50s, high-strung woman, single and living alone. She frequents the doctor's offices, continually latching onto the next ailment and the next doctor. This is her first visit to Dr. Bhatti during the coronavirus pandemic. And then we have Dr. Bhatti, a general practitioner MD, originally from India, who is also a trained naturopath, and I've never said this word before, Ayurvedic healer. I'm going to look into that. Prior to this, she practiced psychiatry. She is outspoken and all about the tough love. Now, this is an example of when we have an actor who's playing outside of type, but he's going to do a great job. The setting is in Dr. Bhatti's office in the San Diego area with a view of the bay during April 2020 at 2 p.m. At Rise, before Dr. Bhatti comes in, Anja is in the small medical room waiting. She tries to read something, readjusts her mask multiple times, wipes her glasses, tugs on her gloves, and then sets the magazine down. She notices another door within the room and tugs at it. It is sealed shut. Then she walks over to the window and looks out in every direction. She puts her head out of the window to see farther out as Dr. Bhatti enters the room.
Hello. Can I help you, Anja?
She's looking down at her paperwork, and the doctor has a white surgical mask and blue gloves on. Anja jumps and hits her head as she pulls it back from the window. She holds her head.
Hi, you must be Dr. Bhatti?
Yes, it's nice to meet you. I wish I could shake your hand. So what were...
This view. I couldn't help. Haven't seen the bay in a while. Sorry.
Are you okay? I mean, did you hurt yourself, dear?
Nothing like the fall on my head down the stairs a year ago. If I could only breathe in this mask or see through my glasses.
Yeah, a lot for us to get used to. How can I help you today?
I'm having sinus issues. All of this congestion.
What exactly are you experiencing?
A dry cough, headaches, right here. Oh, no, now I'm touching my face.
Anything else?
My nose drips. I couldn't find any tissues, so I'm using my sleeve.
Are you sure it's your sinuses? No fever. Your vitals look good. Have you had a spike in your temperature lately? Throat ache?
No fever. Throat's
The
fine.
doctor is typing notes in her laptop.
But when I go out for a walk, people run away farther than 6 feet. They go over to the other sidewalk, cover their faces with sweatshirts. They all think I have COVID-19.
You know it's not about your sinuses. It's your anger. Since it's all bottled up inside of you. COVID-19 is a mirror for you, my dear. You've got to feel it and let it go.
My anger? I came here about my sinuses. I probably need antibiotics. It's got nothing to do with my anger.
Anja, I'm not sure why you are here or if you really want to be well. Sinuses today. What will it be tomorrow? You can go see another doctor if you aren't willing to look at what really is going on. From your history, it looks like you have plenty to select from.
She stands up and faces the door.
No, please sit down. I keep getting these pains. There aren't any other doctors available now, and I'm not going to meet one on Zoom.
If you really want to be well, It's an inside job. You've got to go through it to get over it. You'll need to go into the basement. It's the only way.
She points to the door as she sits down about 6 to 8 feet away.
The basement? What? Anyway, it didn't open earlier. Locked.
The door opens for anyone willing to go in.
Can't I just punch a pillow or scream in my car? I can break some old plates. I've got some from one of my weddings. I'll slam those into some concrete.
I told you the only way out is in.
There may be nowhere to go with lockdown. Hell, I shouldn't even be here, but not a basement. It's dark, cold, and damp. It smells like neglect.
Whatever you resist persists. What are you so angry about, Anja?
Well, it's being told I can't do something. It goes way back. As a child, I wasn't allowed to do much. For many years, I wasn't even allowed to talk in my home. My dad had become bipolar and wasn't diagnosed. He used to beat me. I feel like I'm back home again. That childhood home with no voice.
Good. Good. You need to let this stuff go. What are you doing to take care of yourself now?
But I can't. I can't surf. I can't hike. Nature's closed, didn't you hear? I can't even go to the Y. I'm 12 again, and I feel frozen like some ice sculpture. I can't breathe.
She cries and tries to muffle into her mask. She reaches into her purse for tissues and also sanitizer. She's adjusting her mask and blowing her nose into the tissue, then removing her gloves to put sanitizer on her hands, air drying, and then returning the gloves.
So you're on the stairway now to the basement. Keep going.
I'm so scared. There's no light in here. It's untouched, unlived. But it's true. I've pushed my anger so far down. There's this smell like shrimp peels left out for a couple of days, like rotting neglect. I can't do this.
I know you're angry, but you can't let it affect your health. Stay with it. Put one foot in front of the other and please hold on to the railings. Anja, I read your history. It seems you keep trying to find the answers out there. All the doctors, all the gurus, so many treatments, acupuncture, somatic therapy, speech therapist, psychologists, physical therapy, a shaman, naturopath, and all the other doctors. Did I miss anyone? Each one comes with a different opinion. You still want those answers. So many. The answers are within you. They aren't out here. You're so rigid in your ways. Go deeper into the basement. Where are you now?
I'm trying. I see my mom now in her pink robe. She died in it at 51. Younger than me. Cancer. I was there in her room when it happened. She died angry. I remember it. That look on her face like, why me? Why now? Like, how could there be an effing God if this can happen? She weighed 80 pounds. My brother was 16.
She leans into her arms, sobbing, and suddenly stops.
It's like you have a crowbar and you're cracking open my life. It's too much. This basement is just so dark and musty. It's got piles of stuff in here all over the place. I just want to get out of here.
But don't you know you're already there? You live there. You carry it with you everywhere you go. You think you've created a safe world to live in. Instead, all you do is avoid anything which makes you uncomfortable. That, my dear, is not living at all. You either face your anger, which you've relegated to the basement, or you live in your fear, if you call that living. It's your choice. What will it be?
All right. And that's where we are with that one. And thank you so much at home for sending in. Thank you to my actors today. Mickey and Gil, if you want to come up, we're going to kind of wrap up today's workshop by discussing this. If you have any questions at home regarding anything that we've discussed today, or our handout for this week, feel free to type out your questions in the comments today. At the moment, we'll get to them in just one moment. So the first thing I want to make a note of is your piece is almost done. So yes, you only have 3 pages, but I don't know if you could tell, even though that was a cold reading and it'll go a little faster than that in an actual presentation. We were about at the 8-minute mark with your reading. So, and the reason why is because you have quite a few monologues. If you remember in the monologue workshop last week, we talked about how monologues can be very time consuming. But my hope is that you're in a place where you're close to finding your ending. And if not, this is a good opportunity for you to kind of see the way the timing of these 10-minute plays can really work. But right quick, Mickey and Gil, let's start with Gil for this one. What kept you hooked or interested in this piece? If you could share just a little bit about what you connected to.
Really, it was, deep diving into someone's psyche and understanding the connection between what physically happens to us, like sickness and illness, and how it pertains to the mental state. So those concepts are really interesting to me.
Yeah, and you didn't hold our hand through it, which I thought was really cool. This isn't a type of medicine or practice that everybody has experience with, and instead of kind of using this as an opportunity to explore it in that way, you're just showing us in practice. And I think that is the very best way to kind of dig into it, and will allow us to go and do a little more research after this. Mickey, what about you? What hooked you into this piece?
I was just so curious. I was curious at first why is the doctor telling her to go into the basement, and then the physical manifestation of the door, that turns out to be the basement of her mind. So I found that fascinating, and I thought back to how she tried to, when she first came in, she tried to open the door, but it wouldn't open, and now she's going in the basement of her mind. It's kind of spooky.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say that the tone of this does feel a little spooky as well. We discussed this earlier, and it felt a little, it had some, somebody referenced Get Out, if you've seen that specifically. And maybe that's not necessarily what you were going for, but this current moment that this patient is in with their doctor is a little scary. She seems uncomfortable. The way that this basement was introduced without any explanation. These two characters don't know each other. So to have this doctor kind of hit home so quickly into their patient felt a little supernatural like, and which, if that's your intention, cool. we like the supernatural. That sounds like a fun thing to explore. But if not, maybe something to consider, that it reads a little spooky at the moment without a little bit of hand holding with it. So I'm going to just ask you both one more question, and then we're going to head into the comments. We have quite a lot of this play already in substance, given what we've already seen. Mickey, what kind of transformation can you see the main character going through?
I'm a big advocate for healing through art, turning it around and, making a story out of it. So, I could definitely see, I don't know if there's enough time left in this as it is, but it would be interesting to see her use her wounds as her wisdom. And, wounds could be our wisdom, and they can also be our weight or our wings. So her choosing whether she's going to be weighed down by these memories or are they going to be her wings. And maybe she writes a book or something, or becomes as obsessive about some art form as she is about going to the doctor and trying to find out what's wrong with her. That obsession turns into art form of some sort.
I love that. I love all of the levels of catharsis that are wrapped into the exploring of this script and the sharing of it and the act of like digging in with art to help it heal you. And you know, I think that that's gorgeous. Thank you, Vicky. Gil, what about you? What is a transformation you hope to see for our main character, Anja?
You got Mickey out here spitting bars. Okay.
I know.
No, I'm not gonna top it. Really, for an ending, I would love to see, you know, maybe not her come up with the answer in 10 minutes, but just to discover and pinpoint what her real problem is. And then, you know, the play is left to, okay, now I finally know what my problem is. Now I have to take steps to be able to work through them. You know, I wouldn't want everything to be tied up nice and neat in a bow within the 10 minutes, you know?
A little some realism.
Yeah.
Maybe a door opening to healing is where we can get in this time, which I think is a great place to be and get.
Right, because a lot of people have things like buried so deep they don't even know what the real problem is. Like, this is getting to the root of the problem instead of just the rotten fruit. So I think that's a beautiful journey.
Wonderful. Thank you both for reflecting with me today. We're going to wrap things up. I just want to reiterate for your homework, you are going to take the time to reflect and fill out the end questionnaire, or before the end questionnaire, whatever I titled it. And then you're going to do your darndest to find the end of your play. And if you get stuck at any point in your process, now is the best time to start sending over your pages, because we're going to start sending you some feedback. And you can email me at kharoff@theoldglobe.org. There it is for you to jot down. Our very next session is going to be 100% just about constructive feedback and how to apply it to your piece. So even if you don't get to your end, you can still send your work to us, even if you're stuck, and we can reflect with you on your process. But remember, just because you send me your pages, this does not mean that I'm going to instantly share them online. You can let me know that I have your permission, but I will always ask and I'll always confirm, and I'll always let you know if looks like I'm not going to get to it. And if you just want some private feedback on your script, then we can do that as well too. We'd be happy to. Okay, I'm just going to take a look at the comments to see if there's any questions. There are no questions. We do have some people that shared some endings. Someone loved the ending of Shakespeare in Love, which I agree to. That was a fabulous ending. And then some Shakespeare, Comedy of Errors, a particular production that was really great. And then the ending of the movie Frozen. Someone really loved the ending of the movie Frozen. That's fabulous. If you don't have any questions today, that means that things were clear. That sounds great. But if you're shy and you don't want to type publicly in the comments, you could always just email me directly. As I mentioned, you might get responded to by somebody else other than me. Mickey or Gil are going to support sending some thoughts this week. And we look forward to it. We can't wait to read what you write, and we can't wait to share with you what we think about it lovingly in Thursday session at 3:00, where we're going to dig into feedback. And also please join us tomorrow at 3:00 for our next Behind the Curtain with Laura Zablit. And we have a brand new program starting on Friday called Word Up. Check it out in our event pages. And thank you all so much for being here. And I hope you're enjoying this process, and happy writing. I'll see you on Thursday.